On today's show, the current state of the Dallas Mavericks is in flux with injuries and illness, and all kinds of things. But we know exactly what's going to happen to the Dallas Mavericks in the future. We'll tell you on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
You are Locked On Mavs.
Great, Rusty.
Your daily Dallas Mavericks podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Amazing.
Your team every day.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for being an everydayer, making Locked On Mavs your first listen today. Subscribe to our free Locked On Mavs newsletter, your one stop for the best news and analysis on the Dallas Mavericks and the NBA, straight to your inbox every day. And from big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel's new customers. Can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed, win or lose. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. And joining me, as always, my co-host, media member, the Swami Saint, the One More Thing King. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
All right. I have something for the people in the comments on YouTube.
Uh-oh.
What is the most snow you've ever seen?
Oh.
Because, guys, if you live...
I thought you were about to lecture them or something.
I got something for you. Because coming up later on this week in Dallas, Texas, it's looking like we might get a few inches of snow.
Growing up, I lived in Michigan, and one year we had 5 feet of snow.
Okay, you can't just like dunk on everybody. It's like win the competition.
Well, we have a lot of European listeners. We have a lot of listeners from other states, and so that's the bar. It's 5. That's the bar. 5 feet. We tunneled through it, and my sister could we made tunnels in our front yard.
Well, that's awesome.
That's pretty great.
I would love to see snow, so I'm ready.
There you go. So we may get snow in DFW because a lot of the weather people are predicting snow. We are also going to be predicting things for the Dallas Mavericks. We'll talk about things that we think that are going to happen this season. We'll go even into the future. I know a lot of you are talking about the offseason and what they're going to do there, and then even going into next season and all that kind of stuff. I got stuff on Klay Thompson, Dinwiddie, Grimes, Naji. Got I got one about the Mavs, like the role players, and so we'll get into a bunch of stuff. But let's start here. We'll go back and forth, and we'll share predictions. And we'll go back and forth on different ones that we have. I'll start with one for this season. Luka is out right now. He's gonna be out for a while. We saw him the other day. He was rolling around on one of those knee scooters where you put your knee down on it. It looked like he was not walking around super great. I will also say that video of him, I don't know if you've seen that video of him getting on the scooter and then going into the tunnel, rolling into the tunnel, looked like he was in a lot of pain. I would also say that they probably told him to not put any weight on it for a little while. And so it's probably more difficult to move around if you're not supposed to put weight on one of your limbs. So that's kind of more difficult. But my prediction, the first one we'll go with here, the Mavs will stay above 9th before Luka comes back. They're 6th in the West currently. And so I think the Mavs stay out of that end of the play-in before Luka comes back. I think they stay afloat. Right now the Mavs are 20-15 and they're 6th in the West. They have the Clippers right behind them at 20-15, so tied with them at 7th. The Spurs are 18-17, so the Mavs are 2 games up on them for 8th, and then the Warriors are 18-17. And the Mavs are 2 games up on them for 9th right there. You also have the Timberwolves are 17-17. Mavs are 2.5 games up on them for 10th. And then the Kings at 17-19. That is wild. The Kings are 11th. And then just to say it, this is not relevant for this prediction, but I just want to say it out loud. The Suns are 15-18. And they are 12th right now in the West, which is just wild. But the Mavs, I think the Mavs stay above 9th before Luka comes back.
Yeah, that one's tough. I did a podcast right after, I think you just left to see family, and it was right after the Luka injury, and it was right before the news came out that he was going to be reevaluated in a month. Yeah. And I was sitting there on this podcast saying, guys, I'm looking at All-Star break, and that's that's 2 months. That's 8 weeks. And that was the 8-week mark is All-Star break, and then trying to ease him back in after that. I'm still looking at that as I hope that that's not the case. Yeah. I just think that they're going to be so cautious with it. Yes, the video and the fact that he's on the scooter and all that stuff. I wouldn't say that made me feel any different about me saying 2 months. But I do think it's going to be a while, and I think it's going to be past the 4-week mark for sure. So, 9th.
They stay above 9th. You think they stay afloat, basically?
God, that's so hard. I'll say yes, but they're going to be hovering around the 9th or 10th spot there.
I will say this prediction became a lot tougher when I wrote it down before we learned the news that Kyrie was not going to play against the Grizzlies on Monday. So that's a tough one. He's out with a lumbar injury. It's not illness anymore. It's a lumbar injury, which is like your lower back. And so that's tough. And if Kyrie's going to miss more random games due to illness, injury, whatever, it makes this prediction a lot harder. But I think the Mavs, I feel like the Mavs can stay afloat. There's enough games in there against teams. There's a couple against teams that are bad. There's a lot against the elite teams. I mean, if Luka takes his time to come back, they play the Celtics twice, they'll play the Thunder twice, and they'll play, Denver in there. Like it's just very, very tough.
I'm actually going to change it. I think they fall beneath 9th.
Okay. So you're going against me on that one.
Yeah, I think with Kyrie, like it's going to be a really tough spot for him, because if Luka's healthy, they're finding way more rest opportunities for Kyrie right now because he's put so much like mileage on the season. And yeah, so I think we're going to see Kyrie missing game or two here and there. And I think they drop slightly below it, but that doesn't mean that they finish there, in my opinion.
Yeah, right. They'll do what they do best. They'll go on a run in February, March, and April. It just depends on if they're gonna have enough time to go on a run. All right, give me your first.
Have you seen Dwight Powell in March and April? I mean, come on.
April Dwight Powell is just a different animal.
I'll go with a similar thing in this and say the Mavericks will finish in the play-in tournament, which will be their first appearance to be in the play-in tournament, and they will still make the conference finals.
Oh, they'll be like the Heat from a couple years ago, or even, hopefully better than the Lakers. Lakers in 2023 made the play-in, but then they got swept by the Nuggets in the Western Conference Finals. So hopefully Mavs do better than that. But yeah, they could be the Heat from a couple years ago who were in the play-in and then made the finals.
Like, who are you besides OKC right now? If you're telling me let's just say they make like a little run. Let's just say they're not even like 100% at the end of the season, but they finish, in that like 7th spot. And they don't they win their game in the play-in tournament, and then they don't have to play OKC in round 1. Whoever lands at 2, like they have a pretty if everybody's playing, I'd still say okay, pretty good shot at beating them guys in a series.
Well, right now it would be the Rockets and the Grizzlies on that Mavs side of the bracket, and the Nuggets and the Thunder would be on the other side of the bracket. And you're like, okay, I don't want to do the Ja Morant. You're fine in the West, but there's not many matchups in the West where you're thinking they cannot win. That I'll say that.
That's the thing. It's not that
they can win against them.
Yeah, it's not hey, we're fine in the West, we're gonna run through it. It's you're going into the series and you're like, all right, yeah, let's do this. Like, you're feeling good going into the series instead of, oh, this sucks. Like, this is the worst case scenario.
Yeah, we haven't seen Luka in the play-in tournament, right?
No, we haven't. I mean, the Lakers are in it all the time, so
gotta throw that.
Is that your king? I mean,
hey, Michael Jordan has never won a play-in game. Do you know that?
Never had to. I was trying to think if I had anything else for the playoffs or finishing this season. I don't think so.
I have one that we can tack on here. The Mavs still finish top 10 in offense and defense.
Buddy, that's tough.
It's a tough one. I feel a run at the end of the season. Like I'm going for it. I'm going with some of my positive ones early. Right now the Mavs are 6th in offense, so you feel okay about that one. Okay, Luka comes back. They can regain.
I know, but yeah.
Maybe, he comes back and maybe they're like
a lot of time.
He comes back and maybe they're 12th or 13th, but then they'll ramp back up, and I mean they'll be great as soon as he comes back on offense. Right now they're 10th on defense. That one's the one that's going to be really hard to stay top 10.
Yeah, I don't think they finish in the top 10. I don't think it's like, hey, they're a 23rd in one of them, but I think they're in the top 16 of both.
Okay. Isaac, feeling a little more pessimistic about the Mavs. I'm going with I went with my optimistic takes early. on this.
Listen, it all hinges on. I just think Luka's going to be out a little bit longer than what some people are like expecting right now.
Yeah, which is tough. So coming up, I'll tell you when he'll come back, exactly when he'll come back, and his stat line when he comes back. And one Maverick will do something in the second half of this season that'll help keep them afloat and keep them alive. I'll tell you what that thing is coming up.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. All you have to do is go to Prize Picks and pick 2 to 6 players and more or less on their stat projections to shoot up and win 1,000 times your cash. You can win up to 1,000 times what you put on there if you win your lineup. Think LeBron's going to drop 30? Maybe you're Isaac and you think he's going to be less than 30. Then you do that. Luka's going to get more than 8 assists whenever Luka comes back. Oh, Prize Picks. Prize Picks, I appreciate you putting Luka in the copy, but it's making me sad, actually. PrizePicks lets you make your prediction and put money where your mouth is in just 60 seconds. It's very quick, and you can play it in Texas as well. Very key for everybody listening to this, for a lot of people listening to this show. Now's the perfect time to join in. Download the app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. That's right. No need to win to get bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks, run your game.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad, what we call our listeners, listening every day. We appreciate you for checking out the show. Check the QR code for different ways to follow the show. We have the newsletter, like we mentioned. We also have the Locked On Mavs Insiders, where you can text us and get text messages from us. We'll give you updates on all the injuries that ever happened to the Mavs. We'll send you that. We'll also send you every single trade rumor we see and send you notes and thoughts on that. So if you don't want to hang out on Twitter all day and you want to get our thoughts on that or send us messages and ask us questions and stuff, we'll be on that as well. So subscribe to that. Check the link in the description or the QR code. All right, Isaac. Luka's first game back. I got a prediction.
Uh-oh.
I think the Mavericks, in looking through the schedule, and I started to go through it in the last solo show that I did, when Luka comes back, when Luka is going to be evaluated again, it would be like January 25th. Mavs have a game then. January 27th, they have a game against the Wizards, and that's a home game. And then they have this 5-game road trip. And I think they hold him out for that 5-game road trip because right after that 5-game road trip, it'll be February 7th. And then they have a 5-game road, or they have a 5-game homestand right after that. And I think they play him for that.
Trade deadline day.
Trade deadline day too. And the first game is against Houston, February 8th. And I think he comes back and I think he drops 35, 10, and 10. And it's like he never left because that's what Luka does. Oh. He rolls out of bed and he puts up these insane numbers. And so I think Luka comes back that day, February 8th. And I think he drops 35, 10, and 10 on the Rockets. And we're all back and everybody's happy again.
I mean, I hope you're right. I mean, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful story that you just played out. I think he's reevaluated in a month, like they said. I think it comes out and they're like, hey, he needs additional time. We're going to reevaluate him in 2 more weeks. And then after we get, 2 more weeks after that, which is around the 6-week mark, he's doing light activity, all the stuff, starts ramping up some practice stuff, and then we're seeing him after the All-Star break.
The 8th would be 2 weeks after the 25th of January, which would be it'd be 2 weeks after that reevaluation date. And so I gave him a little.
Yeah, so that's 6 weeks.
I gave him a little extra for that because I think that's what they'll end up doing. So that's what I think about Luka coming back.
Yeah, there's a scarier timeline of like what Towns went through in Minnesota. To where he had that whole thing, his calf strain that was in like November and that lasted like most of the season. You didn't see him again until like March, and I don't think I'm hoping it's not that. But yeah, I'm still like All-Star break.
All right, give me another one of yours.
I want to start with for me. I got some offseason stuff. Let's just stay with Luka. I think Luka signs the big extension. I think he signs a 4+1 extension that makes him the highest paid NBA player of all time. And it's a 5-year deal, $346 million. We're gonna get
t-shirts made with that quote. Make sure you say that quote.
I just think it's too much money for him to it's just like where he's at, and it's like 340. He's already qualified for making all NBA and previous years of stuff. And then I'll tack on top of that, since it's the offseason, I think Kyrie opts out of the last year of his deal and signs a 3-year deal to stay in Dallas to where, we at least have 3 more years of Luka and Kyrie.
That Kyrie does the 3-year deal. Interesting.
Yeah, that's what I think happens with
3-year deal with Kyrie, because he's 32. He'll be 33 in March.
I didn't put a dollar amount on it because
that'll be an interesting one. We'll have a lot of time to talk about that, but yeah, that I feel like that's a pretty good one that they'll stay and that they'll both sign on, because that feels, at least the team has proven they can make the finals, and these two guys like each other. They like the coach and everything like that. The front office seems to be working well with them. Everything seems to be pointing in the right direction, and they're not frustrated. So you would think that they would sign on to stay as long as the front office doesn't mess with it like we've seen in stars in the past.
I have one more Luka one. I think this offseason is that offseason for Luka. Like
the one we thought this one
we've all been like talking about. Yeah. I think, I just think that this year, I'm fascinated to see like where his head's at the end of this year, of like just missing a lot of time for the injury stuff and the calf strain. And sometimes that stuff can linger to where even when he comes back, it might not be 100%. And then, what if, because of all the injury stuff and let's say Kyrie's worn down some, what if they do, lose in like the second round or even conference finals or, something. And it's like, all right, I've had multiple years now and just all the stuff. I just wonder if it's that off season that, it's like Dirk had his off season, and it's like Luka goes off the grid for a month, and he's like all the stuff. He signs the extension, and then whatever that looks like, he does something.
Define what that offseason means. Is it just that he has to get off the grid, or is we start hearing he's in the best shape of his life? Like that's what we have. That's what we have to hear. What defines that offseason?
Yeah, I do think it's like off the grid. We don't hear from Luka for like, and then a story comes out later on later in 2025. It's like Luka changed up his off season. He went to, Norway with his team, for 4 weeks and did this special training stuff. He comes into training camp. He looks as skinny, looks like rookie season Luka kind of. And it's just like, and he's talking about how hey, it's added up. I took a different approach this summer. I just want to kind of approach this season differently and kind of go from there. Not saying his past offseason's been bad. I'm just saying I think this is the offseason that he changes up something. And yeah.
I mean, not bad, but he came in and he had the calf injury in the preseason, now the calf injury again. I mean, it definitely has not been his smoothest off-season to season transition that we've seen. And so that's what you're hoping for that year, is that, all right, he's in shape and that he's doesn't deal with any of these injuries anymore, that he works through that. But it's a tough thing to predict, but that's a good one, because then I thought it would take the Mavs missing the postseason entirely for that offseason to happen. And I don't know that we really got it that year. We did get, that was the year we got the stairs running, didn't we? We got the video of him running up the stairs.
We've seen those stairs a few years.
All right, I got another one. The Mavs get to 8 players averaging double figures. So right now they have 7.
That, yeah.
Well, it's not that big of a stretch. I almost said 9. That would be a lot. Luka's at 28 points a game. Kyrie 24, Klay 14, PJ 12, Gafford 12, Naji 11. Grimes just hit 10. He's at 10.1, and so that's what kind of spurred this on. It's like, oh, they had 7, now they have 8. Or they had 6 and now they have 7. And Dinwiddie's at 9.1. We gotta get Dinwiddie there. And he's just had this really weird stretch of
Nick, who has
Dinwiddie.
to get it up?
Dinwiddie's got to get it, or Lively's at 8.6. Could he get to double figures? But with Luka out, there's a lot more. There's more to go around, and so I think the Mavs will get to 8. Could they get to 9? I don't know that Lively gets to 10 a game, but that's where I went with that.
Yeah, no, I could see it. I mean, it is the cold and there's cold weather coming in, but I think Dinwiddie could get it up to that like 10, double digit mark. He would be the one, I think.
I have another Dinwiddie one. So since November 25th, which is kind of the day that we've kind of marked as Dinwiddie finally arrived to the season, and he scored 20 points in that game, and he's been part of the rotation ever since, basically. Since November 25th, he has 7 games of 16 or more points, and he has 7 games of 0 to 9 points. And my prediction is that number stays equal the rest of the season. That he has just as many games of 16 or more points as he has of 0 to 9 points. Because I think that's the player he was. That's the player I expected the Mavs to get, that it'll be his feast or famine, where some days he'll just have it, and all of a sudden you'll be like, oh my gosh, Dinwiddie scored 18 last night. Or there'll be games where he scores 2 or 3 or doesn't score. And I think that number stays equal the rest of the season.
Okay. Yeah,
that's just a random one I wanted to throw in there about Dinwiddie. But I think about Dinwiddie though, I think his scoring and I think his ability to get the Mavs a bucket every once in a while is going to be so crucial in this stretch. I mean, obviously with Kyrie out, it's super important. You just see how much they struggle when he can't score at all. But that's going to be a big thing for them. And so I expect his scoring to go up in this next stretch. I expect them to lean on him a little bit more, to lean on him as a ball handler and do all that a little bit more as they go through this.
It's going to have to be. Yeah, he's going to be the one that's going to have to score the points. And I'm sure we'll talk about Quentin Grimes in the third segment, but if Grimes can continue his little streak here, then him and Dinwiddie together can do it.
Coming up, Grimes will do something, and he'll rise up the leaderboards for the Mavericks in one area, and Klay Thompson will do something. I'll tell you one thing Klay Thompson will do this season. Coming up.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Today's episode of Locked On Mavericks is brought to you by FanDuel. Check out FanDuel and see what is available for you. All you have to do is go to FanDuel and see all the different things that they have. You've got the NFL, the regular season is ending here, but you got the playoffs that are coming up. And right now you can get $250 in bonus bets, win or lose. Win or lose? Oh, you don't even have to win it now. They changed it up. So go check out, see what you can get at FanDuel. The app gives you everything you need for live bets, same game parlays, and so much more. Visit the website and check out what they have available for your team. Sadly, the Dallas Cowboys will not be in it, but they have a bunch of other things. Check out FanDuel.com to join today. Get started with $200, $250 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com, $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
All right, Isaac. Oh my gosh, let's hope our internet holds up. Let's hope our internet holds up for the end of this show. Oh my gosh. Shout out to you if you're still watching this.
God bless.
But yeah, the high winds are really kicking my internet's butt today.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll have good audio.
As long as the audio is good. Okay, I said Klay Thompson will do something. I want to just throw this one in.
I was going to say, I have some wild ones.
This will be rapid fire. We'll just go back and forth. Klay Thompson will hit a game-winning 3. That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Love this one.
He's shooting 46.7% from 3 in the fourth quarter. He has not played a lot. We've gone over that a couple of times, that he's not played a ton in the fourth quarter. He's not closed every single game, but he's shooting really well in the fourth quarter.
Dude, sign me up for this. I'll go insane.
That'd be great.
Especially with at home.
Or can it be against the Warriors? Do they have another Warriors game, right? Can we get that?
Maybe. Could it be in the play-in against the Warriors?
Oh, that'd be insane. He gives the night-night to Steph after hitting a game winner.
Night. All right. I have some. It's cool because you have this season and I have like future stuff later on in 2025. The Mavs swing for a definitive like third piece this offseason. Nico swings for it. And I even threw out 3 names.
Oh,
Zion, Kevin Durant, or Larry Markkinen.
Interesting.
I was just trying to think of like who are and I said swing. I'm not saying that like, hey, you go all in to like whatever. I mean, Markkinen would probably be a little bit more all in, but I was just trying to think of like there's 3 players that you could see a path for them to move this offseason, that you could see a world in which Nico says, we can do this here. Like we can, so.
Is it enough that they'll just be in the rumors? Like they swing for it. So the Mavs are in on Kevin Durant and they could be the ones that come away with it. Is that enough for you, or they have to actually land the player?
No, I think, that's enough. Like it's the swing. Like they were in the conversation for Kevin Durant before he went back to Golden State or whatever.
I guess this is in a different direction, but I have an offseason prediction. The Mavs will actually use their draft pick this year. It's the 21st pick right now.
They need to. It'd be nice to. This draft is so much fun. I cannot wait to do draft stuff.
I hope they don't trade it before. I hope they don't trade it before. I love doing those draft shows where we just go through all these guys. All right, what could they pick this guy? And 21 is just, there's so many players that are usually in that range. The thing about the draft pick, though, is I think they'll need to use it because of the CBA. I think they'll need a cost-controlled young player, and I think that's how they'll be like, all right, if there's not a trade, like a grand slam trade that we can use this pick for, then they'll just use it. That's where I am with that one.
They need to. They need to have a draft pick that works and is in the rotation. All right, I got one that you're going to laugh at. Already. At some point in 2025, Ben Simmons is a Maverick.
It's like a trade, and then they send him somewhere else. Like, remember when JJ Redick or Luke Ridnour got traded like 8 times? Yeah.
Whether it's a trade, whether it's he's bought out and it's a minimum deal, whether it's free agency this summer, whether it's Nico is the type of guy that's like, no, we're going to use him and turn him into something.
I think that's too much of a stretch. Unless here's
I'm not for it. I'm just saying, like, I could see it.
I just can't see it. You know, our friend Lauren Gunn is in on this. She's been talking about trading.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she's talking about buyout or something for Ben Simmons. So she's been on this train. The only way is if Jason Kidd sees the vision, because it's him when he was a young player. He's like, I can be the one to bring him along. Remember what I did with Giannis? You know, like, unless Jason Kidd, it's his pet project kind of deal.
If I can touch the car. Look under the hood.
Yeah, right. Okay. Quentin Grimes. I got a couple on the role players. Quentin Grimes rises to 5th in minutes per game for the Mavericks by the end of the season. Right now he's 8th. He's at 22.2. Klay is at 4 with 27.8. I thought that was too high. I don't think he's going to get there. Lively is at 24.1 at 5th. Naji's at 23 at 6th. Dinwiddie's at 22.7 at 7th. And Grimes then is at 8 with 22. And I think he rises up because since November 12th, he is 5th in minutes. He's 26.1 minutes a game. And he's tied with Klay, who's also at 26.1 minutes a game at 4th. So Grimes is...
So he needs to pass 3 players.
Yeah. He basically just needs to keep playing the amount of minutes he's played in the last, 4 or 5 weeks here.
Yeah, I'll say no. I think
it gets to 5th.
I think some of that plays into obviously Luka being hurt, but Naji's suspension and stuff. I got a Grimes win. I think he's back on a new deal this summer, but I think it's right after I think they do go out and make some type of trade this summer, but they make it and then bring Grimes back on top of that on a new deal.
Ooh, it's like they send multiple guys out, and so then they have to we got to keep a cost controlled guy.
Yeah,
because of that. I don't know what his cap hold is. I haven't looked at that. That's an interesting thing with the offseason and all that. But okay, Klay, Grimes, and Naji all have 5 20-point games or 5 games with 20 points or more. I didn't make a prediction, or I made a prediction, but I want to know yours too. Who finishes with the most? So Klay, Grimes, and Naji all have 5 games with 20 points or more. Who finishes with the most?
Grimes.
I went with Naji. I think he's gonna come back, and I think he's gonna go off like he did before.
That would be so awesome.
It's been too long.
They need him so much.
Yeah,
all right, I got my last one. At some point in 2025, in the offseason or before the deadline, Dwight Powell isn't a Maverick anymore, and Luka changes his number to 7 this offseason.
Wow.
As part of his offseason reapproach to the
new number.
He goes back to 7. He hasn't had it because of Dwight basically when he first started. And
wow.
The number opens up and he goes back to it.
I don't think I've covered a Mavericks team without Dwight Powell on it. I think I've covered this team for like 10 years.
Have we been alive? I don't.
All right, I have one more. I just went straight NBA one.
Let's go.
Jimmy Butler's going to get traded.
Yep.
To the Memphis Grizzlies.
God, I would hate that.
I know.
It's a good basketball fit. And I would love it for them. As if I was a Grizzlies fan, but as a Mavs fan, I would hate it so much.
Yeah, I know. They would have to send Smart, so at least you have that. But yeah, if it was,
but sure,
Ja, Desmond Bane, and Butler as their backcourt, ugh.
With Jaren Jackson,
that's tough. It's a tough one. But yeah, try to think of, all right, what's a team that people are not mentioning too much? Because that's always the case with these guys.
All right, guys. It's the Locked On Mavs for the ages right there. We'll be back tomorrow covering Mavs, Grizzlies post game. Peace out. Boom.